So welcome. I'm excited to have have you here and our first week of the course. So my agenda for our time tonight is to really spend most of our time um, introducing myself and focusing on the organization of the course and my expectations and overall philosophy um, of teaching. And so to get started, I'm in the platform and we are in student preview. So this should look pretty much like it looks like for you. So as you are getting familiar with the course and moving through the content, I do want to just share some spaces that you should make sure that you are spending time. So we have our discussion area, which I can see that folks have been in the lounge, and that's a great place to introduce yourselves to each other. We also have our Module 1 discussion, which the first post is due by tomorrow at midnight. You can see that the due dates for everything have been added, and everything is due by midnight. But in addition, we have the course chat, which is kind of this far away little space that I don't think most people go to. But this is where we are posting our introduction videos as faculty. So you'll see that I have a post here. I have a video where I introduce myself and give you a little bit of information about my teaching philosophy. And then there's also some text telling you about myself. So the main piece that I think is most important for you to know, and is something that I share in the video, is that I realize as early childhood professionals, you are balancing lots of things and organizing your time and making this all work, right? And for the most part, students getting a degree in early care and education are working adults. And so I don't see it as my job to support you in building organizational skills and some of those life skills that traditional college students, I think, is a real focus. I think about my own 18-year-old who is a freshman in college, and a lot of what she's learning is just how to live on her own and be independent and deal with life in general. Um, and really for the most part, I don't see that as my role in being a professor in this field, and that most of you are working adults and have lots of different responsibilities. And so my goal really is to support you in taking the content that is in the courses and implementing it in your work, implementing it in your interactions with young children and their families. And in particular, for this course, it's really about building your own approach and recognition of the importance of professionalism and advocacy and really seeing this work as a profession, right? And so with that, I'm more concerned about you doing the work than the timeliness of the work. Now, clearly, I prefer when you turn things in on time, and with courses being accelerated and that we have 5.5 weeks, it's a lot of work in a small amount of time. But I always accept late work. And since the beginning of the pandemic, I've just adopted a philosophy of all courses being self-paced. And so I will never deduct points for late submission. Because again, I feel it's more important that you get the work done and that you do the work well than when you turn it in. The other thing that I would say that I am a pretty big stickler about with the assignments and with your coursework is that I do want to see direct connection to course content, right? The point of the assignments and the discussions is not for me to learn about your opinions. I really want to see you see evidence that you've looked at the course content, that you reviewed it, that you've reflected on it, and then that you're really applying it in your responses. And so that's kind of my general approach, and I would encourage you to check out my video. Then the next space I would encourage you to go to is the calendar. I have entered everything in the calendar. I know, we're several semesters into using Blackboard Ultra, but I know, at least for myself, I still feel like I'm learning a little bit about how everything works. So I find it a lot easier to look under the month when looking in the calendar. And so you can see I've put in the first day of the class, as well as, if we go into November, the last day of the course, right? So that you can always have that in mind, because again, these courses happen ever so quickly, and are moving really fast with the abbreviated accelerated schedule. In addition, I put the live classroom in for tonight. I will be sending out a survey for folks to respond to. I will do that if I'm feeling adventurous. Maybe I'll still do it tonight, but most likely it'll probably be tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I will post the decision in terms of the day and time for live classrooms going forward, right? And so I'll give several options in terms of day of week as well as time of day. I will choose times in the evening. We do schedule everything around the central time zone, as that's kind of an in-between time zone. But I know that students are in lots of different time zones. So we always do record the live classroom, and you're always able to watch that at a later time as well if you're not able to join in person. And then I've also entered all of the due dates, so you can see that those are listed with due at the front. You can also look specifically for due dates. And it will show all of those, right, that are listed there. Just in terms of the flow of the course, which is the same across courses, is that your response to the discussion is due by Wednesday at midnight. Your response to classmates, which is not showing up in here just because of the way that due dates work. So to make sure that you've responded to classmates by Saturday at midnight is the due date. And then all written assignments are due on Sundays, as well as the live classroom quiz. And in terms of really thinking about and putting together your plan for success and kind of scheduling out your time, as I said, I do really see the courses as all self-paced. I like you to keep on top of things and turn them in as they're due. But if you do have things come up and you do need to flex things a little bit, I would prefer if you could participate in the discussion in the week that is due, because the intent is that the discussion really mirrors what would be happening in person in a course if we were all in a classroom together. So for you to really be able to be having those conversations in real time with classmates, right? So I do ask that you prioritize that piece. The other thing that I would ask is, with the live classrooms, that you either attend in person or watch the recording prior to working on the assignment, because we will always talk about the assignment for that week and my expectations, right? And so it's always a good idea to participate in the live classroom prior to submitting your assignment to make sure that you're meeting all expectations. Also, if we go under books and tools, you will see the syllabus. And my information is listed here on the top. I don't have set office hours because I really do try to be as accessible as possible. I recognize that when you are reaching out with a question, it's typically when you have time to be doing schoolwork. And so feel free to text me. You can also email me at my Rasmussen email, and you can send me messages through the course platform. My preference is a text message. I really do try to check the platform on a daily basis to keep an eye on messages coming in, but I'm not always perfect because I'm doing lots of different things. But I always have my phone, so I always see a text message and typically would see an email coming into my Rasmussen email as well. Sometimes students will send a message through the platform and then just send me a text saying, hey, I sent you a message. Can you look and respond? Again, I really do want to be able to respond as soon as possible. And then the rest of the syllabus is just the standard format, but it does give you a sense of the course organization and policies and all of those pieces. Okay, so then as you are reviewing the course and getting ready to be successful, again, make sure that you are watching my video under the chat discussion, that you look at the calendar to make sure that you have all of the expectations in your mind and sort of the flow of the course. And then with each live classroom, we will be moving through and talking about course content, right? And so we are in module 1. Now, one thing that you may notice or may not is that the live classroom quiz is not showing, right? If I take this out of preview, and then you see the instructor, what this looks like for me as the instructor, kind of the back end of it. I've actually hidden the live classroom folder. And the reason that I do that is that I've had the experience of students going in and completing the live classroom quiz before I've posted the video of the live classroom, before we've even had the live classroom. And so there's no way for you to respond. And that it really shows me that you have completed the live classroom. So I do not make this available to students until after I have posted the recording. And so just know that. And so you can see here, when we're looking at this through the instructor view, that the due date is listed here as Sunday at midnight. It was not showing up on the calendar because I have it hidden, right? Once I have made it accessible to students, then that due date will show up on the calendar as well. And as I said, I will post that once the recording of tonight's session is available. And I always feel a little bit silly talking about that when most of you will be watching the video, and so it's already been done. But anyway, so I'm going to pause and just see if there are any questions in terms of course organization and expectations and my approach as an instructor. Okay. And I'm going to actually switch. I meant to switch out of my headphones before we started. There we go. Because these act a little bit funny when I am doing using any kind. Okay. So then let's go ahead and move into reviewing the content for this week. I'm going to put it back into student preview again, just so that it looks like what it looks like for you. And so if we go into module 1, we are really focusing on advocacy. Right, so each module is organized in the same way with the same flow of content. And so we have our overview, which shows you the objectives, estimated time, readings, lesson content, and really, so it's really just an overview of the module, right? And then we have our discussion where you are writing a letter to your legislator, right? And identifying a issue that you want to advocate for. And right now is really a huge time for us as a field in terms of advocacy. We have national initiatives and the Build Back Better policy that is in the process of being negotiated and talked about that may include significant investments in early care and education and in the child care system that has never happened before, right? So it really could be quite significant and sort of world changing for us in this field. In addition, we are in the middle of a workforce crisis. Child care centers across the country are having to notify parents in the morning because they don't have the staff to open classrooms. In preschool classrooms, in elementary schools, and even older classrooms, principals are and administrative staff are substituting in the classroom because there is a substitute shortage, there's a school bus driver shortage, there's all sorts of challenges that are happening in our field right now, and we are still continuing to experience the pandemic. And so there's lots of things going on, and I'm sure that there are lots of topics that you may want to write to your legislator about. So that is the focus of this assignment, right? And to make sure that you are also responding to your peers' posts and letting them know if the letter persuaded you and why. As part of this, I want you really to be thinking about that this piece here in terms of components of motivation, right? And so the theories of motivation that are part of our course content is an important piece, right? Okay. Of both the discussion as well as the written assignment. So if we close out of the discussion, again, you want to make sure that you are posting your initial post by tomorrow at midnight at the latest, and then that you are responding to classmates by Saturday at midnight. And then we have our assignment, which is our program policy. So if you click on that, you will see all of the information here. This is due by Sunday at midnight. There is a rubric that is used as part of it. And so if you click on view assessment, you see all of the instructions for the assignment, right? You're going to be identifying a program policy that would improve the quality of an early childhood program. You want to make sure that the policy is specific, right? That it's clear what it is that you want to do, that it's measurable so that we know what it'll look like, how we'll know if it is successful. And really thinking about the who, what, when, why, right? We also want to make sure that it is research-based and that there is data that you can use as evidence to argue for the importance of this policy, right? We want the policy to be valid in terms of it, that we can see that it's connected to positive outcomes for young children or families. And this is also where you are showing that you've done research, and that you've looked at course content and are applying that in your assignment, right? It's not just your opinion, but that you have evidence to back it up, and you are doing your research using professional resources, going to national organizations. We're going to look at a few during our time together tonight. As well as using the library with Rasmussen and course content. With the implementation plan, again, this is an important piece when we are thinking about that motivation, right? So you're going to write a plan in terms of how you're going to implement the program policy. But you also have to talk about how you will motivate others. And this is one of the places that you are going to be directly citing course content and identifying a specific theory of motivation that is part of our course content to talk about, right? Okay. You also want to make sure that you are using APA in text citations and APA formatting, right? In addition, I do have rubrics attached to all of the assignments. And so this is all here for you, so you can see what the expectations are, each of the areas, and how they are graded. I do use rubrics for all of my grading, so please make sure that you are referencing those. The same can be said if we go back into the discussion and we look at the rubric, right? Again, you have those expectations around timely and active, your initial post, responses to classmates. This etiquette piece may be something that you haven't seen with other professors, so please make sure that you're reading through that and really making sure that in your interactions with classmates that we are showing respect towards one another and valuing differences in cultural and language beliefs. Well, language isn't really a belief, but differences in language. And then there is also a section in terms of quality of writing, right? And I'm not super picky in terms of grammar and typos and things like that. I just want to make sure that it makes sense and that there's a flow, right? I will also say in terms of written assignments, that quality of writing piece, and in particular, I think when we look at the rubric, I usually address this in the general requirements section of the rubric, which is only 10% of the total grade, so not a huge chunk, but one of those things that just drives me nuts is when people don't use paragraphs. So please think about how you organize your writing. You can use headers or just organize it into paragraphs around the different required elements. That's also a great strategy to make sure that you are including all of the required information, right? But if it's all just one big paragraph, you will lose points on that. Okay. And then in addition, we have our content for this week. And as I was pointing out, please make sure that you go through all of the content, but in particular, these scenarios, theories of motivation. If you start the activity, there is a link that takes you to a video that walks you through the theories of motivation. Again, make sure that you are watching this video and that you are integrating this content both into your discussion post and really thinking about how to motivate a legislator around the topic that you're advocating for. And then also picking a theory of motivation and including it in the implementation section of your written assignment. So again, I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions in terms of the content for this week and the expectations with assignments.
You were saying to use the course content also in discussion posts. Does that mean you want us to cite that APA style in our response?
I don't necessarily need an in-text citation or APA style. I just want to see that there's evidence that just referencing it, talking about it.
Okay, thank you.
That is more than just your opinion. You're welcome. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and move to a couple of resources. And this is another piece that I will consistently do in the live classroom, which is also why I encourage folks to watch the live classroom or join live, is that I will share resources with you that you can use in completing your assignment. So we are currently on the website for the National Association for the Education of Young Children, or NAEYC. And this really, NAEYC really is the national leader in early care and education, right? So the website here is naeyc.org. And if you scroll down to the bottom, which is where we started, there is a section specifically on advocacy. Your state may also have, well, all the states have a state affiliate for the National Association of the Education of Young Children. When I was in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Early Childhood Association, which is the NAEYC affiliate for the state of Wisconsin, is incredibly active, does lots of amazing things. Actually is the main contract holder for implementing the quality rating and improvement system and works very closely with the state. They also manage the teach funding and all of those things. And here we go. Let's see if I can remember. I must have gone to their website recently because it auto-populated, right? So we have WECA is here, wisconsinearlychildhood.org, and you can see there's lots and lots of information here of work that they do, advocacy that they do, as well as programmings that support early care and education. And so your state affiliate may be very active and maybe still similar. Maybe you're in Wisconsin as well. I'm in Maryland, and the Maryland, DC, Virginia ones are not quite as, I was a little bit disappointed. I'm a member of NAEYC and of the Virginia and Maryland, well, no, not Virginia, the DC and Maryland affiliates, and it's not quite the same, but oh well. Anyway, okay. So on the NAEYC website, there's lots of information here in terms of advocacy and what is going on. There is a resource and toolkit in terms of building your advocacy skills. right? And so this is a really great place to go and get more information as you are building your knowledge and understanding of advocacy, and thinking about what are the strategies in terms of organizing a visit for a policy maker, inviting a legislator to your program. And so this is good information for you to be thinking about, even with the discussion assignment. And I believe there was a video here which I wanted to share with you. Let's see if I can find that. Here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that I am sharing. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment. This is one of the fun things about WebEx is that there's a special button to share sound, and I always forget to push it. Okay, so I think I have this set up so you should be able to hear. So let's go ahead and watch this video.
Hi, I'm Rhian Alvin. Today, we understand better than ever the vital role of early childhood professionals in our society. Here at NAEYC, we're hard at work ensuring that you're supported, valued, recognized, and compensated in accordance with the important work that you do. Our public policy and advocacy work is focused on closing the gap between what we know about how young children learn and what we do about it. We work with policymakers at all levels to help ensure that all children have equitable access to high-quality early learning and that effective educators are the linchpin to that quality. And it's high time that we recognize that through livable wages and benefits. I came to NAEYC because I believe that we are best positioned with the tens of thousands of our members across the country to mobilize the grassroots base needed to make real policy change. I'm incredibly passionate about this work, and I take very seriously NAEYC's commitment to empowering the early childhood educators to define your profession and advocate for your compensation structures that will attract and retain top talent in this field. That is why today I'm asking you to become a member of NAEYC. We need your voice to lead the change. Our strength is in numbers. Our goal is to say we speak united on behalf of hundreds of thousands of early childhood educators. We need elected officials who will stand up and take notice of just how big this movement is. To see the work that we've launched on behalf of early childhood professionals, go to naeyc.org/profession. And to add your voice to this cause that can't wait, become a member of NAEYC. Go to naeyc.org/membership. We need you today. We know too much about the science of early learning, this critical window for young kids, and the essential role that early child educators play. Our time is now.
Okay. And then the other website that I wanted to share, and I will put links to both of these when I post the recording of this session, so you have access to that as well, is Child Care Aware of America. Again, another national organization that is really leading advocacy work in early care and education, and it is really lending a strong voice to the importance of equity and making sure that all educators and all children and families are represented and valued in our early care and education system. So if you go under issues, we can go to advocacy. And right on the top, help make childcare more affordable and accessible for all families. And then there's lots of information here around advocacy and taking action. There's an advocacy toolkit, information about finding your legislator, how to advocate, sharing your story, lots and lots of information here. So again, a really helpful resource in terms of thinking about that advocacy piece. Okay. So as I said, in terms of next steps, when the recording of this session is available, I will post it in the module, right? So if we go under module 1, if you go to module 1 live classroom recording, right now what we have here is just the information for this week, right? So I will add in this section links to the recording. I do post it both. I put in the link to watch it in WebEx, but I also upload it to my YouTube channel so that you have that as well, because I do find that sometimes folks have a hard time accessing the video in WebEx. Sometimes they just have an issue. So that is my workaround. And I might actually experiment. We'll see. Maybe I'll use a different source and just have the video itself in that you can click on the video rather than a link. I think we'll do that this time. Okay, and then you'll be able to go into the live classroom folder, will be made available. And I will have a question here for you to respond to related to what we talked about in the course. I do not give you like a secret word at the end of the live classroom to put in as your proof. I do actually just ask you a question about what we talked about, because again, my goal is that you are taking the content and applying it, and that you find this information useful, not only in being successful in the course, but really improving your skills and knowledge as an early childhood professional, right? So that is all here. And again, please make sure that you are responding to the live classroom quiz by midnight on Sunday. Again, I will not deduct points if you do it late, but it really is to your advantage to make sure that you are doing the live classroom in connection with when you are doing the written assignment. Okay, so again, I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions.
Real quickly, I know you said that our discussion post was due Wednesday at midnight, but normally isn't it due Tuesday? Is it just this week that we get the extra day?
I'm actually giving you the extra day the whole time because, to be perfectly honest, I couldn't remember if it was supposed to be Tuesday or Wednesday, so I figured I'd give you Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay. So again, if you go into the calendar, that's where you will find the dates for everything. And again, I just find it easier to look using the month format. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you next week. If you have any questions throughout the course of the week, please reach out by text, email, course message, or phone call.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm so sorry I'm so
welcome.
late.
Oh, that's
I was
okay.
having so much trouble logging in. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did already do my initial post, but I wanted to make sure that it was okay actually because it's something so my son just started kindergarten and he's always been with me at Bright Horizons, and so it's like I'm new to public school. And I just found out he only gets 15 minutes of recess and they don't do any free play or very little free play, and then they're actually taking it away starting November 1st. So
Oh my goodness.
I actually had been saying, I had sent an email to his teachers just asking how they were feeling about it, and they were actually really upset. And so I was like, I'm going to take this to whoever I need to. So I had been talking about sending it to like to who it needs to go to. Um, is it okay
Maybe
for
the
me
superintendent.
to do? Yeah, so that's what I wrote a letter, and I'm actually going to be sending this letter. So the feedback that I'll be getting from the class is actually going to be wonderful. Is that okay to use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, I already
Mm,
posted it, but since we have until tomorrow, I would rewrite it or do something different if that's what I needed to do.
one thing I would ask for you to do is just to review it and think about that theory of motivation piece and kind of what your process was of how do you write it in a way that'll motivate the superintendent or whoever you're addressing it to respond. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to change what
I
you
realized I didn't write it
posted,
down.
but just something to review and you can do a second post kind of addressing that if you feel like you haven't really hit that point.
Okay. I think that I hit all the criteria. I just wanted to make sure that it was okay because it's kindergarten, but it's also something very personal.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
know that you had
Well,
said like that makes it a great motivator, but I just wanted to make sure it was okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And early childhood is birth through
Yes.
third grade, so age 8. So it is still
Yeah.
early childhood.
But
Yeah.
also it was just something very personal, so that's why I was like, I don't know if I can use this. So I did, but I was like, I was gonna write this email anyway, and it's literally exactly what you were calling for because I do want to be an advocate, and my son's teacher actually was even saying like she was just like, please help us fight for our children. Because her son is also in kindergarten and she's feeling very uncomfortable because it's her first year teaching at the school,
Oh
and
my
her son's
goodness. Yeah.
also in kindergarten. So she's just like, I hate this.
Yeah.
So I feel for her so much, but also as a parent, I'm like, this is terrible. They
Yeah.
should be getting
Well,
play,
and
right?
kindergarten should be play based. I was actually training a program in New Jersey, and they were talking about that in their kindergarten they had periods. Like each class was like 35 minutes. And I'm like, what are you? They're 5. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes no
Yeah. Nope.
sense.
My son gets 15 minutes, and his teacher actually, when I asked her, because I was like, I heard they only get 15 minutes, she was like, it's actually 12 after they line up. She was like, it's like line up time. Like she was like, that goes with their recess time. And she was like, it's actually horrible. And she comes from Spain. She just moved here from Spain. So she's like, America's ridiculous. She's like, what's even happening? And she's so upset because she's like, I brought my son into this, but I'm locked in for the year. Like it's so sad. It really
I
is.
know.
And so
That's all. Yeah.
I'm like, I will do all that we can. And we have like a whole parent group. We've joined PTO meetings, and it's very, very sad. So we're doing what we can to keep
Well, hopefully
play
you'll get some
happening.
good feedback from other students, and that'll help you with the
I
final
hope
letter
so.
that you actually submit and maybe speaking at a school board meeting and
Well,
all
I
of the
really hope
next
so
steps.
because I was already like including just like articles and things, and I shared it with one of my colleagues, and she was just like, "You're such a nerd," and I was like, "But I just want them to know that this is like it's research based, like this is an actual thing." And
Yep.
then I saw the first module, like what the discussion was, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so perfect because now I can get feedback to see if it's something like, am I being too harsh, am I not being harsh, not like I don't even know. So um
Yep.
hopefully they'll review what they're making it blanketed across for all kindergartners. I honestly think that teachers should be the ones that are making the call for what is best for their classroom because every classroom's so different, but
Yeah.
public school's
But
so
we
different
also
from what it
know that
used to.
physical activity is incredibly important and is tied to the child's behavior and their ability to pay attention. And so you're setting kids up for failure.
It, yes. And my son is definitely someone that needs to wiggle. But he's always been at Bright Horizons, which is completely play-based. And even though they're learning so much through that, which we all know, he's so used to, like, they get 2 hours of outside time every single day. And in addition to that, they can play all they want. He's, because of COVID, like, even at lunchtime, they sit by themselves. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when is he getting social? Like, that's the most important part of kindergarten. They need these
Yeah.
social skills. And I saw at kindergarten orientation, it was horrific. So many kids who have never been in care or in childcare at all, and it's the first time being away from the parents. It was so sad. Both the parents and the kids are hysterical. My kids just like, bye. And they're all like clinging to their parents. I'm like, oh my God. But I mean, they need it
Well,
more
and for
than
the
Lincoln.
last year and a half, most kids have been at home.
Yes, yes.
So even if they were in childcare, that was a year and a half ago. So they were toddlers.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes,
for our
absolutely.
3-year-olds that are entering preschool, they've
Yeah,
never
so many
been.
of them, the only interactions
that's
they've
half
had
of
have
their
been their
life has been the
siblings, which is going to
pandemic.
be very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that I was late. I'll watch the
Oh, no
live,
problem.
the recording, but I appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
You too. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.